All right, so we have like 30 minutes. I'm happy to answer a bunch of questions about whatever y'all just watched. I think is this a live mic over here? Yeah. So if y'all want to ask a question, let's form a little line over here at this mic. Is that fucked up? Oh shit! Is that gonna fuck things up? You know what? Fuck the line. No line. Let's everybody sit. I'll call on people because I don't want to like disruptive. Yeah. What's up?
You get sick while recording this? There's a lot of cold water. Like I was cold.
That's such a good question. Yes, I got like multiple diseases. Yeah, especially in a lot of it was. Well, we filmed like during the winter, and we filmed in the winter in Oregon. And the people I was filming with, they're like, "Are you sure you want to go in the water? You just stand on the beach." And I was like, "Dude, if I don't go in, then that's lame. Like this ain't a vacation, bro." So go big or go home. But yeah, I got so much clothes like wet, filled with sand, full of like disgusting algae and all kind like the shot where we did next to that house. That's the sunken, abandoned house. It's such a beautiful image.
I was like, oh my god, it's disgusting.
It's disgusting. Yeah, like I was telling my friend Andrew, who's somewhere in the back here, that I was like, yeah, we're gonna film at this location. It's gonna be crazy. He was like, don't fucking go in the water. You're gonna get like tetanus and all this kind of shit. But you know, gotta lock in. So it needed to be done for the shot, and I think those are some of my favorite ones. The ones where we're in the water, fully immersed. You know what I mean? Yeah, you right there.
All right. If you could have gotten anyone on this album, whether it be a feature for like vocals or instrumentation, anyone in like history, who would it have been?
Oh, that's a great question. Who's people I was thinking of? I was thinking of like Caroline Polachek. I feel like she's very she's got a cool thing going. I feel like she would understand the world that I was doing. I really wanted to put like Echo 2K on like just in a weird place. Like I don't know. I have all sorts of ideas like Sky Ferreira. Like we had like worked on stuff, but none of it was cleared or anything. So I couldn't put it on the album. But yeah, I wanted to, I like we have Danny, we have Marusa, we have like all the boys. I wanted even more of the ladies. Shout out, by the way, to Olika, to Autumn, whose voice blesses Yeah, she's incredible on Waging War, on the intro, like so many of those beautiful, like ethereal kind of, I don't know, otherworldly vocals. She really blessed and she did flute as well. So all of the good flute, she fucking snapped on this shit. By the way, before I say anything else, we have a bunch of the instrumentalists here tonight. So, yeah. Hold on. If anybody here played a note on the album, please stand up. Like anybody who was involved in this shit. They killed it. Noah, Johan, Fahim, Miles. Yeah, everybody fucking snapped. Amazing. All right, let's do another question. Let me go all the way in the back. You right there in the gray shirt. Yes.
Is there any intent you have when picking filming locations other than just trying to find what's best for the world you're trying to build?
Yeah, I think because a lot of the visuals end up being kind of minimal, like maybe one scene per song. I like the idea of a setting that has an innate tension within it. So, for example, the sunken house, that's just an image that's full of so much symbolism and inference. Like you see you see a house that represents a place that someone lives and they grow and they had dreams and hopes and whatever, and then it's sinking in the water. Like just that image already tells a story that will resonate with you subconsciously, and I really like having that built-in tension, or like the sunken cemetery shot where you see the big cross in the shape of a boat. It's like fucking crazy. And just when you see that shot and you see me as a like individual walking into the horizon and walking towards this cross and going under the water and getting this weird supernatural baptism moment where it's, you know what I mean? There's just so much already in that scene, and I try to build the tension from that, or the piano on the beach and the waves are hitting the piano. Like I want there to be that main image that then we can build the world around that image. You know what I mean? Swag. Yeah, you, blonde hair, yeah.
Was there a certain location for the movie that you were most excited to discover that was also super fulfilling to realize, like, once all the visuals were done, is exactly how you wanted it to look?
Yeah, probably the Sunken Cemetery. That was the last. Like we filmed that 2 weeks ago, because I was like, damn, it's such a good location. We kind of need it, and maybe I'll get into the Bakunawa lore of the sea. There's like a sea monster in the album that's a Filipino monster. And I was like, we should go to the Philippines and do it. It felt very full circle, and so I was really excited to that. But the scene that I really loved was just those sails in the field. And that was like one of the first things that we did, and it was a really weird idea that we were going to build these like poles that we would stick the sails to, and we were wondering, is there going to be enough wind? All these things, and it all came together so nicely. It was cloudy, and the sky was super layered, and the wind was insane. Like where if you bent over, it would pick you back up. Like it was that intense. And so yeah, that one was like the set that we built, and that was really cool. Like building something like that just felt so surreal and felt so much like the music, you know. Yeah, you right there.
So what did your the set design look for this? Because I'm assuming you had like a team and stuff like that, because there was just so many different cool sets and things like that, like with piano and stuff like that.
Yeah, we just fucking did it. We just went there.
Yeah.
So the set design was a lot of scouting the world, like going on Google Maps and like looking around at shit and deciding what makes the most sense. Shout out to Brendan Burton, who's an amazing photographer. Yeah. He found a lot of locations. Shout out to Ruben. Okay, we're doing another applause. Who here was involved in filming something for this? Please stand. Ed and 70. When we filmed the shit with the piano, we got up at 4 a.m. and we went to this beach, and it was, the piano was so heavy that Ed, when we were halfway to the beach, we had already spent like 50 minutes, probably many injuries had been sustained that I hope I never get sued for. And Ed was like, this is not going to happen, man. So yeah, we really just built the sets at the sets. And aside from the sails, which was this kind of design thing, it was just a lot of finding good locations. And it was a really minimal team for a lot of it. Maybe it was just Ruben or just Zed filming, and I would kind of work with them and build out the scene. So yeah, it's probably a little more minimal. I guess actually the boat was the real set, because I spent a long time going to antique stores and going on eBay and finding all the props that I wanted to kind of make the symbols of the album. And then I built the inside of the boat to be full of those props and, designed a map for it. So you see me looking at this weird map that makes no sense, and it's all of the places from the rest of the album and all this foreshadowing. And so, yeah, the boat set was probably had the most intention behind it. So yeah, I guess there were sets. But yeah. You right here.
Oh, hi. I really loved I Didn't Mean to Haunt You, the movie, and I got inspired to make my own short film based on that. And I just wanted to know how depression kind of impacts your music. I noticed a lot of themes of depression throughout your music, and I wanted to see how that informs your music and what you create.
Makes it fire. I wouldn't say I'm a clinically depressed person, but I have my phases. And in Haunt You, I definitely was that was the most extreme and the most kind of existentially alone phase. And that yeah, I think a lot of my music ends up, because of the way that I make it and the way that I write, ends up being about like an individual in the face of something that, you know, they're reckoning with. And this album, maybe it was a little less depressed, but it was probably just as existential, and it was more about like a journey, and instead of finding the you know, the grieving life, it was more about like living to like finding life inside of life, and finding the thrill, but also finding the darkness that comes with that, and the darkness of being isolated from people, and you know, all that kind of shit. So yeah, I think I just kind of write what I'm feeling, but I wouldn't say that. I guess I don't really believe in the idea that, oh, you got to be hella depressed to make good shit, because you just have to feel something strongly. That's what I feel like. If you feel super angry, you'll probably make some fire as well. If you're super happy, okay, then it probably sucks. But you know what I mean? Just something strongly, and just zoom in all the way and try and find some shit out of that, I think, is what I try to do. Let me do another back, you waving like this.
Alright, I have a question about the album. It's about, why did you make this album, and why is it called Vanisher Horizon Scraper?
That's a good question. So I made the album because a few reasons. Well, kind of like I was saying earlier, I like the idea of an environment where like an individual is facing something much bigger than them, that they're kind of at the mercy of, like a mountain climb or like the afterlife. And I thought that the ocean is one of the most powerful and like poetic natural things that we have. And you know, the idea that you could be on a boat and you're subject to the wind and you're subject to the waves, but you can kind of control your destiny. You can control the direction of where you go. You can control how fast you're going, or if you're using power, or all this shit. But at the end of the day, you're just subject to the environment and this truly like undiscovered, super terrifying thing that's extremely beautiful and also like horrifying. And I thought that was really a good creative inspiration for me. And then I also just like making music that sounds like a journey, and I feel like it really felt like a journey, kind of like a global journey. Like I'm borrowing from a lot of different genres. I feel like it's a very kind of universal album. I'm borrowing from like Brazilian music and like Asian music and all kinds of shit. And I like the idea that it's this album that's set in this infinite ocean that's not bound to any land, and it's kind of this global thing. You know what I mean? I don't know.
So that's why we have like so many weird shit going on?
Exactly. You got it. You should write a review and just say But yeah, and I call it Vanisher because I thought that was kind of it sounds like something that would be the name of a boat, but it's also kind of the objective of the character. This idea that he's like chasing the horizon and just wants to touch it, and of course he can never touch the horizon, and it's this whole thing. And then Horizon Scraper, it's like that's also the objective. It's like just, I like the imagery of just scraping it, like just one little touch. Any of y'all ever seen the show Flapjack? There's the episode, you know, where they go to Candy Island, and Flapjack, he just like he is so disgusting, he like spits onto a piece of candy on Candy Island and then sucks the spit back in, and then he just tastes Candy Island. That's Horizon Scraper. Hell yeah. Yeah, you right there in the brown. Is that brown? Yeah.
Okay, so something I've always loved about every visual piece you put out is how important the locations are. Like, you have this elite ball knowledge, but it's like the abandoned complex in Turkey of all the little castles, or just on the last album, you tried that thing where you're human. That was shot in like Solvang and Lompoc in all these weird spots. Like, how do you know that? How do you know these places? And
Yo, guessers.
yeah, how there's so many amazing. Like, that's my hometown. How do you? There's like 3,000 people there. How do you know that?
From Solvang?
Yes.
That's a weird place.
Weird place. It's weird. But how do you, like? Are you picturing? the locations contribute so much to the ambiance and the environment of the music you make. Are you picturing places in your head when you're creating the auditory environments of these songs?
Not always the actual locations, but the feelings of it for sure. I think about the world, and I think that's like a fun thing to do. It's almost a procrastination activity to just like look around the world and dream of all the places you could go. There's so many more that we didn't go. And like Brendan, he's an amazing locations scout, and he's got like 1,000 locations on deck that nobody would ever go with him because it would require maybe being in danger or maybe, like going really far. And everyone's like, how can we do something at this that looks like this sunken cross in the Philippines, but let's shoot it in Glendale? You know what I mean? It's like, bro, like that's what everyone's trying to do. And I just think, and they'll probably spend the same amount of money to go film at some mid-ass place in Glendale when they can just, lock in with like one person and, cut a little bit of the crew and, hair and makeup and shit and fucking go, which I think is cool. But yeah, I like procrastinating, looking around the world and thinking of ideas, and it's just kind of like a fun thing that I do maybe while I'm making the music, or I'll think of it after a song's made and I'm like, ooh, this should be at a big rock, hell yeah. Shit, I don't know where to go. Yeah, Evan, shout out to Evan right here.
So, all these songs are like super ambitious, and I'm wondering what your favorite one or the one you're most looking forward to do in live performances is off of this album.
I think Thunder, I'm really excited. There's so many things that we could do.
I think we should open with it.
Open. Now you said that, I'm going to do it last. But I think that would be really fun because there's that like background chant. There's like the so I'll have this vision of having that a cappella and just repeating it, and then out of nowhere dropping it, and then I don't know. There's so many interesting things to do, but yeah. And then of course the more musical stuff. I think I really like finding ways to incorporate the weird like psychedelic beauty in the live thing. And shout out again to the instrumentalists here, like Miles, Fahim, Autumn, all these people who have done shit live with me and really brought the magic to life, you know what I mean? So yeah, and this is the first time that my live band for this album are people who like played on it, so that's cool. Yeah, you right here in the glasses. Yeah.
Oh, so you mentioned Flapjack and the lore behind it. Is there any sort of physical or digital media that helped inspire you in the beginning processes of Vanisher?
That's a great question. Media. It's funny because I had the idea of doing like a sailing apocalyptic album, and then people would recommend me a bunch of. They're like, "Bro, you haven't seen The Lighthouse? Like, you gotta watch that." So then I watched that, and then that gave me ideas, and that like I think that the thunder visual, the idea of the still black and white kind of almost like silent film looking thing for like a song like that was just really weird, and so I was probably inspired by that a little bit. Or there's this movie, I forget what it's called. Fuck, what was it called? I think it's All Is Lost. It's an individual. It's very similar to the story of the album, which is why someone recommended it to me. But that really gave me the push to learn how to sail for the album, because this actor did that shit and did it so well, and it was like a movie with no dialogue, or he only says one word in the whole movie, which is he yells "fuck" like halfway through the movie. But it's like a really beautiful human experience kind of film. And yeah, that inspired me to go the extra mile with learning how to do it, and the idea of, this is a skill. If you put enough time into a skill, you can do it, So.
Can I do one last follow-up?
Okay. Yeah.
Is the boat yours? Is that like your boat now?
No, it's a property of Marina Sailing. You can sign up for your classes Thursdays with Captain Ron, who taught me. Let's do another in the back. You in the gray. You.
Yeah, so you've talked about before that you like to play guitars in different tunings and you compose a lot on piano.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, how much do you think you take from traditional composition and harmonic ideas? Because you have such interesting harmonic ideas. How informed by common practice is that?
By common practice, I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what you mean, but I don't know music theory necessarily. Like I didn't like study reading music and stuff, but I think I have pretty good like musical intuition, and I'm good at chords on the piano and good at knowing, oh, this sounds interesting, this sounds boring. So yeah, but I guess no, yeah. I'm starting to peel back your question more. I think this album, more so than any of my previous ones, it does have a bit more of a vintage quality, especially to some of the orchestration that sounds like some like old Brazilian shit or sounds super orchestral like Foregone. I think a lot of these songs do sound a bit older in the way that they're just a little more musically complex, and they go to places that I think I was inspired by a lot of older music. I wouldn't say like classical necessarily, but yeah, like 60s, 70s kind of shit that was weird at that time that I feel like that I could apply with the modern production that hasn't really been applied to it. You know what I mean? Yeah, you and the white right there. You, yeah.
So, these songs seem to have like either an atmospheric feeling or like hundreds of tracks. And you talked about how you wanted to have the concept of someone facing something larger than life.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of the songs on For Me to You have the same thing, where it's these very explosive or very ambient kind of atmospheric tracks. I wonder if you ever thought while making this that you wanted to go for something more minimalistic, kind of similar to how on Scrapyard you experimented with that with songs like Guide Dog, but realized that doing something the way you did it fit the album better.
What a great question. Let's give a round of applause. One thing that's interesting that you said is that you brought up From Me to You, which I feel like I was trying to make this album kind of, but I just wasn't. I was so much worse at making music, so it was really frustrating. And obviously this I kind of built. It incorporates elements that I picked up from doing Scrapyard and Haunt You. But I feel like the version of me that made From Me to You would have been really excited about this album. Yeah, shit. What the fuck? What is the other thing that you asked? Because it's such a good question. I just was like, that's a great question.
Basically, it's when making this, were you trying to at any point go?
Oh yeah, minimalism. And I try to have a balance that those moments that are bigger do feel more explosive. Like I really think that the ambient song I Dream About Sinking is extremely important to the pacing of the album, and it's really like a cleansing breath before the album takes a darker turn. And like, yeah, it's super important to have those minimal moments to then earn the explosiveness again. Or in Ruin My Life, there's that 2 minutes of this very roomy guitar ballad that's I literally recorded standing away from the mic, like 10 feet away, because I just wanted to feel so honest. And yeah, I was trying to make sure that when it goes big, it feels earned, and that songs have enough space to feel moving without necessarily having like hit you on the head with a fucking shovel every time, Cool. I think that there's something really magical about how fucked up it looks, and that it's super honest looking. Like I really love that shot at the end of Ruin My Life where it's just like 45 seconds of a still camcorder shot of me just sailing, and there's nothing slow-mo, there's nothing larger than life, it's just super like real, and it puts you in that spot. And I think that those are very important to making it feel honest, and the everything that's wrong with the camcorder shots I feel like adds a lot of beauty, the way, because it's making mistakes in the way that it's perceiving light, and that's creating beauty. Like for instance, in the closing track Casper, where I just left this really long shot of the sun sinking into the water, and it looks like the water's pulling the sun down. That was a real unedited shot from the camcorder, I just zoomed in really far into the sun, and it didn't know what it was seeing, and it perceived it in a really magical, really weird way. And I think sometimes, putting incredibly elaborate environments in a camera that can barely perceive it properly ends up creating a lot of times really unique stuff. And sometimes we were filming, and Zed was like, dude, we have to film this with like the Ari, and it's got to be so beautiful. And I was like, Zed, I told you we're prioritizing the camcorder. And he's like, why are you trying to make your shit look bad? But we made it happen. So yeah, thank you to Zed. Thank you guys so much. I'll stick around. I might have to do a couple little things, but I'll come out and take photos of y'all. Again, don't fucking leak the shit. If you try to finesse it and like recorded some garbage on your like iPhone, like just don't post it. It's lame. I trust y'all. I feel a good energy, but I just would feel I feel a duty to just make sure I say that. So thank you guys so much. I love y'all, and let's go. It's out this Friday. Let's go. All right, so that was it. Thank you.
How was it with your clothes? You were always wet. Like, it was beautiful, but like in my mind, I was like, he must like smell or like.
Dude, that's so true.
Were you changing your clothes, or were you like in the same clothes? You're like, fuck it, we're just gonna raw dog.
That is such a great question. Yeah, it fucking sucked, dude. Especially being in the ocean and like the one where we were like with that sunken house, like the water's full of rust and probably like fucking like asbestos and all this shit. So yeah, it smelled horrible. Like it smelled terrible. You could get sand in it. That was the worst part. Because then I'd have to pack it. Like we were traveling all these places so fast, and I'd have to like pack this sandy, wet fucking jumpsuit. But it still looks good. Like the jumpsuit, like I want to like on tour wear that. So I didn't want to like ruin it. But yeah, it fucking sucked. And I kept having to like dry the clothes and use so many trash bags. And there's still trash bags like in my house with the wet clothes. Like the waders that I was going to the water, I still haven't taken them out because I'm so mortified. Like probably all the years of bacteria. There's probably some cure to some disease that has been cultivated by the bacteria that has grown on this fucking clothes. So that is a great question, but yeah, it's super inconvenient and horrible. Yeah, what's your question?
It's something that I've always appreciated about your art is kind of like the multimedia aspect of it, like the film with you and like writing and watching everything. And like I'm just wondering about how you think that separates you as like an artist and like the amount of effort that you have to put into like not only doing everything you do with the album, but also with all the films and stuff.
Thank you. That's very nice of you to say. Did everybody hear this? I just realized I should probably, if everyone could kind of hear this. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, by the way. That's very nice of you to say. I think I just see like my music, especially like when it comes to concept albums, as very visual. Like when I'm making this music, it feels like there's no visual, then there's like something missing. Because a lot of the times I see it like really viscerally. Like I knew when I fucking was mixing the closing track in the water, you hear the actual song start to feel like it's like clawing through the ocean and it jumps out. You know what I mean? I was like, I need to fucking do that. So yeah, and I think there's always an opportunity in visuals, especially with music that's a little weirder, to like make people understand the intention behind the sound. Because if you can see, okay, this is like Foregone, for example, it's like, yeah, this is this kind of piano ballad, like into this abyss and horizon, and it's blue, and like the song might not click with them until they see the world that the intention is like there. So yeah, it just is a lot more time. Like a lot of people are like they want albums really fast, and it's like it just takes a lot of time because that's like the movie aspect and the visual aspect. That's like weeks and weeks, and I need to edit it all and do all that shit. So it's like it just creates more time, and I'm not like married to the idea of always having like an album movie But I felt like for this one to really like hammer home the music, that it would be like really useful, you know? You. Yeah. Thank you. She was asking about the windy, like river thing with the big like castle in the back. That is like it's a location called Mont St Michelle. It's in France, and it's actually a super big tourist location. Like I didn't even really realize that. And then I was kind of like, fuck, like we're filming at the fucking Eiffel Tower. Like who's gonna care about that? But so I almost felt like pretentious with it, where I was like, oh, that's been photographed too much, that's gonna not work. But I liked the idea of, in the song, like at a time like this where it's a lot about yearning and reckoning with what you want and desire and what you get and karma. I just liked having this visual of this very kind of fantastical utopian destination that kind of like fits on the horizon, because I think a lot of the land shots are more these, to me, like these imagined shots from the character in the story, where like when he looks at the horizon, like the horizon is kind of this amorphous representation of like desire, or like what you want or where you want to be in life and purpose and all these things. So I was trying to find a lot of locations that felt like they were a physical analogy to that feeling of like going through this windy river and looking and running forever towards this like castle that you'll never really reach, but the actual like visual and the feeling of it, there's like beauty in that, you know? Yeah. Let me get somebody from the back, because I've been doing it. Yeah, you over there.
I'll stand up. So there's a saying that goes like, if you want to have the things that you've never had, you have to do things you've never done. And so I'm wondering, what kind of skills did you have to learn? What kind of research did you have to find? Like, who did you have to become to create something like this?
Wow, what a great question. Let me think about that. Who did I have to become? Well, I had to become a sailor. But that fucking sucked. I was so bad at sailing, dude. I was so bad. My sailing instructor, he's like, I think I'm like dyslexic with tying knots, and he's like, clearly you're never a Boy Scout, man. You're horrible. Like he thought I was like the worst sailor he'd ever seen. He thought I was gonna make it, but I just really tried, because like I need to get these shots, dude. But so yeah, I spent a lot of time like getting the skills of doing that in order to look comfortable in the visuals, but also like get a vocabulary for the things that a sailor would do. I was just really curious, and I didn't want to like say a bunch of stupid shit, but then when like an actual sailor listened to it, they're like, this guy's a fraud. So that was difficult, but I obviously didn't want to make the album all about, like, a lot of lyrics are more vague and more about like human experience and all that kind of shit. And then it really, I also had to become just better at like music and mixing. This album's really difficult to mix because there's so much instrumentation. It goes so many different places, and I feel like with my last two albums, Scrapyard and Haunt You, it was roughly mixed, a lot of them, because it was all about the feeling. But I felt that this music, I didn't want to give myself that excuse of kind of letting the mixes be rough and be more atmospheric. I wanted them to be really clear, so that if an audience that is, has never heard me before, if they hear like kind of a more blurry mix, they might just not give a fuck and they'll just skip to the next song, and so I wanted everything to feel clear and feel like just really well done, and that was really hard because I had to get a lot better at that. I mastered it myself as well, because I felt like some of my previous masters were just like too quiet. I was like, damn, I don't want someone to get to the song and feel so quiet. So I learned that more. And then working with instrumentalists. This is like the first album that I really was collaborative with a lot of instrumentalists, like Autumn, who's here. She is filming this. She played the flute and sang. Did an amazing job. some of the most beautiful moments on the album. And yeah, a lot of like working in the room with string players and figuring out how to write those parts. And yeah, I don't know, I want every album to be better and go to new places, and that always makes my timelines and like expectations of myself very like, difficult to completely predict. Because every time I learn something new, I'm like, damn, well, what if I learned one more new thing and then apply that to the first thing? And so, you know, that's the cycle. But yeah, thank you for the question. Cool. Yes, right in the front.
When you were like listening back to the music and dreaming up the scenes for the movie, like in your head, what did you think was going to be your favorite song to film for, and what ended up being your favorite to film for?
So she said, when you were making the songs, what did you think would be your favorite song to film for, and what ended up being the favorite? Ooh, that is good. Ended up being the favorite. What did I think would be the favorite? I was really excited for the last one. I really won't want to do that justice, but I was kind of dreading that because I knew that'd be hard to do. What are the other songs? There's I think no questions asked, the first song, I was really looking forward to it because that song, that feels like the most magical song to me. And I really was like, damn, if I can like pull this off and make it feel like that, then that'd be so special. And that was my favorite to film. Like there's just something that was in the moment very moving about having these giant sails. Like the wind there was crazy. Like it was like all the shots are slow-mo and you still see it moving like that. It was fucked up, dude. It was, you could barely, like if you leaned over or you're standing there, the wind would, you know, fix your posture. So it was really surreal to just feel the wind, and there's all these wind noises in the song, and I was dancing to it and going all fucking crazy, and I was wearing AirPods, and that just the feeling of doing that, it felt like, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of artists in the room, like when you're making a song and you are closing your eyes and you're listening to it and you're imagining your space for it, it's very rare that you can feel that world. And that song, filming that, I really felt it. I really felt the moment of magic connect there. So that was definitely my favorite. And then going to the fucking Philippines to go to the Sunken Cemetery, I was really looking forward to that. But that was new. I went there like 2 weeks ago and edited that because I thought that would be so cool. But it was all, some of the shots I decided to do them later after looking through everything that I had and being like, oh, okay, I might need something else here, and this doesn't really do that justice. Yeah.
So on I Didn't Mean to Haunt You, you had the Danny Brown feature, and you had the Danny Brown feature on this one, and in the last one, you said to him, again in the feature, you're like, you were the only person who could play carbon monoxide. What did you say this time? Did you say he's the only person who can play the sea monster?
Yes, that's exactly what happened. Yeah, so the Bakunawa, the lore of the Bakunawa, is it's an ancient Filipino myth of this sea dragon that, this is basically their myth for why eclipses happen. And there used to be this dragon that would go and eat the moons. There used to be 8 moons, if you didn't know. There used to be 8 moons. And then the sea monster ate like 7 of them. And then the Filipinos were like, damn, dude. We've got 1 left. What are we going to do? And then the story goes that there's a few different versions. One of them is that they scared the monster away with banging on drums and pots and pans, and the other version is that they lulled the monster to sleep. And I thought this was a great myth because it's this idea of people communally joining through music and calming this apocalypse from taking place. And I connected to that story. I thought that was really cool. And I wanted to approach it in like the most direct, and like I didn't want to make it vague. I wanted to be like, yeah, this is a fucking song about a sea monster, and this is him rapping as a sea monster, and it's 5 minutes long, and it does everything that you need it to do. Like, I know some people, when it comes out, probably be like, that's fucking weird, why is he doing that? But I thought, I kind of wanted to lean into whimsy and the fiction of everything, and be like, yeah, this is, like, that's okay. I don't need to, be aura farming. I can just fucking indulge this weird, like, fantasy idea. And yeah, when I was talking, I just thought it would be funny to get Danny to be like a fucking weird character again. Kind of like when, you know, a director is like, oh, I'll fucking put Robert Pattinson in all my movies or whatever. I can kind of hit Danny, I'll know that he'll be up for the weird shit. And he was so excited. I told him, I was like, so it's kind of weird. You're gonna like be a dragon, if that's cool. He's like, oh no, don't worry. And then he goes and he writes it, and then a day later we record the verse, and it's so perfect. And he had looked up all the lore, and he's Filipino, he's like a quarter Filipino or something, so he was hella hyped. And he was like, bro, da-da-da. And then he read up, he researched it, and he delivered the verse, and it was so sick. And then can I leak something here? That's kind of cool. We will, as a merch item, this idea to do a like stuffed animal plushie of the Bakunawa, and when you squeeze it, there's a voice box and it plays Danny Brown records. So you literally have like it's big too. It ended up being way bigger than that. It's like this big, and then you squeeze it and it goes like so that'll be a really fun item to sell when it is all manufactured.
What was your process working with Marusa like for the final track?
That is also another awesome question. So we were kind of like mutuals on Instagram, probably from being like, you know, there's a certain type of music nerd that kind of, there's like a weird crossover even though our music's nothing alike. And I think that, you know, there's like a mutual respect. And then I had made this outro and like most of the bones of it, like the structure and everything, and I really like, well, the reason I actually reached out is because I had written this spoken word for it, and I didn't think that I could pull it off saying it. I kind of wanted to hear it from this more like omniscient perspective, and I think he has a great fucking British voice. And I was like, damn, I want to hear this British guy say this shit, and he sounds so cool. And like he yells, and it sounds like, he just has a beautiful voice and a great tone. And then that's all I sent. I just was like, hey, could you try like delivering this poem? And then he was like, yeah, and we'll have the whole band try some shit on it. And I was like, oh, awesome. Because I didn't want to bother. I wasn't trying to be a nuisance. But I think they were looking at it as like, oh, that's kind of an interesting opportunity to like do our thing. And so then, yeah, dude does the saxophone on it. And the end, oh, I love the end, where it's like the big part and the drummer's going crazy. And they added a bunch of layers. So it's kind of like this mix where I ended up mixing everything that I made with all of the layers that they added that I felt added to it. And then, we just did that song. And then I ended up reaching out to Harry, who's the vocalist from Marusa, to do these like spoken word sections in a bunch of the other songs. He's in like 4 other ones where he is doing that kind of like, there's a man on the horizon, like that kind of shit. And I was like, ooh, you should do that. And then it kind of like teases his voice. And then when you get the big Marusa thing, it feels like you've seen glimpses of God, and then by the end, it's like God is talking. You know what I mean? Yeah. Someone yells stop.
Stop! No.
Okay. Right there.
So my question is that you were talking about like how you had to go through a bunch of like practice and working and trying to master your mixes and the masters in general. My question is just like, how did you exactly teach yourself to get to that step of mixing and mastering that you got to like make the sound design and like mix and master all these super layered tracks?
Did everybody hear? It's asking about how did I get to learning how to mix and master all the things in the way that I did. We say that's what you're asking?
Yeah, it's like more so like, what's your way of teaching yourself?
What's my way of teaching myself? I think just like tedious amounts of time, which I think is the most important skill that I have. And I think like any artist that, I honestly think anybody doing anything, if you can dedicate a lot of time just doing some really boring shit, then you just do it enough, then you will learn how to do it. And so it was really tedious, and like when I was doing the album From Me to You, that was the fucking worst, because I was under the impression I was just going to send it off to a mixer to mix it, and then they would always send it back so much worse. And then I have to learn how to mix this. And so, I learned a lot there, but I still wasn't that great, but I got better, and so I was just doing it for a really long time, and then picking certain things to focus in on, because there's so many decisions to make in every song of like, do I want the bass to feel like it's growing, or do I want it to hit immediately, or do I want the kick to feel this way? Like, you have to kind of get a mastery of a lot of the basics, so then you can approach them with risk, so that you can like understand what it's supposed to sound like, so that you can make it sound the way it's not supposed to sound like with intention, which I think that is what's a lot more important. Like, some people can make like a rough mix, and they're so in the world of their song, and it's so awesome that it's great, and they shouldn't touch it, and they should never change it, and that's fucking great. And then sometimes it's good to, have a handle of everything, so that then you can make the creative decisions on what you want to fix and what you don't want to fix. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Should we do one more, or is it truly done? Okay, truly done. Thank you guys so much. This is so lovely.
How are we feeling? Just give me, what to say. Talk to me, bud.
I'm very excited. We did a screening last night. It was one of the most weird and moving and powerful real life experiences I've ever had with my music. So yeah, it's pretty crazy, because this has taken me so long to do, and I did this shit all by hand, like, you know what I mean? Like, planning out every little detail, every little prop, every location, every sound. It was like meticulously crafted for so long, and to just see it all flash by. No, yeah. I mean, obviously, shout out to everybody that helped work on the records, like instrumentalists and camera people and all that. But it really feels like watching years of my life just fly by, like being perceived for the first time by hundreds of people. It's really weird, and it's really cool. So, and the fans are so excited and so respectful, and they've been waiting with just as much anticipation as me to watch it. So to feel that, it really like lets me listen to the album with fresh ears and experience it with everybody else. So it's very, very unique, very special. Yeah. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great, man. I'm great, glad to be here, and that's it. That's all I have to say. It's your night.
Bing bong.
Bing bong. That was great. Thank you. That's good.
That's good.
That was good.
Yeah. Hell yeah.